Hello, everybody. Anthony Sevins back again, and welcome to another episode of What the Hell is Wrong with Me, where we talk about all things, any and all things related to anxiety attacks, anxiety, depression, so on and so forth. A lot of stuff that many people in the world can very, very much relate to. And today we're going to talk about something that's usually a little bit uncomfortable to talk about, but if we don't talk about it, then how the hell can we wind up becoming comfortable with it and learn to cope and deal with it? Today we're going to be talking about anxiety attacks and IBS, also known as irritable bowel syndrome. For those of you who have no clue what IBS is, it's basically like stomach spasms that mess with your colon and your stomach and all that other fun shit. Literally, no pun intended. So like say, try to give you some examples here. So you have your colon, right, where you poop out of. And when you have an IBS attack, everything spasms. It tightens, it spasms, and it hurts. It hurts to walk, it hurts to sleep, it hurts to sit, so you have to go to the washroom and relieve yourself. Now, usually the way that you can relieve a spasm is if you break wind or pass gas, or if you poop a little bit. You know, even just a little bit of poop will help to loosen things up after about 10 to 15 minutes or so when you're done. Sometimes that also means that you're going to be sitting on the toilet for about 15 to 20 minutes because you're just trying to get something out of your system to help relieve your severe case of uncomfortability. IBS can give you diarrhea. IBS can make you feel backed up. I know for guys, when you have a severe IBS attack, it kind of can feel like you got kicked in the nuts for a few minutes, and it's just extremely uncomfortable, especially like if you're sleeping. It could wake you up and you're like, damn, what the hell, I'm hurting, I gotta go use the bathroom, and it's a pain in the ass. So anyways, when you deal with anxiety attacks, when you have anxiety attacks and you have IBS, it makes for just the worst, most uncomfortable, most embarrassing situations in the world. Because for those of you who don't know how an anxiety attack works, your brain unleashes a massive amount of adrenaline to your body, and your heart starts racing at 100 miles an hour. And basically, your brain takes your nervous system and goes like this. And your whole body feels fucked up and weird, and you can have a billion different symptoms when you have an anxiety attack. Everything from shortness of breath to tight throat to tingling in your head and your body and your arms and your legs and all this. Anyway, but when it comes to IBS, you have to keep in mind that your brain is directly connected to your gut through the nervous system. So when you have an attack up here, you're going to have an attack down here when you have IBS. And it absolutely sucks because your brain freaks out and then your stomach starts freaking out, making it so that it's an emergent trip to the washroom. Now, let me put you in a situation that I've dealt with many, many times before. You're driving, you're on the road, and you have an anxiety attack, and then all of a sudden you have an IBS attack. You got to get your ass off of the road super freaking quick to a washroom. That means you have to stop at a McDonald's, a Walgreens, some kind of retail store, a grocery store, a gas station, something like that. You have to hit the bathroom now. And a lot of the times, especially if you're on the road for lengthy periods of time, you may have to stop not once, not twice, not 3 times, but sometimes several times in, let's say, an hour's worth of time. And it sucks. It is so annoying. And God forbid if you get stuck at that stoplight or in a heavy rush of traffic or you're at a train, you're doomed. You're doomed. If you have nowhere to pull off, you're fucked. And it absolutely sucks. Fortunately for me, I have never been in a situation where I've had an in-house accident in my vehicle. So, thank you to the higher powers for that. But you know what? Everybody's situation is different. Everybody's level of anxiety attacks could be mild and it could be severe, When I was driving especially, I was having severe attacks. So imagine you're getting ready for work, right? First thing in the morning. And you're feeling good and you're like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to get to work. I'm going to kick some ass today. Everything's going to be great. And you're feeling good. And then you get to your car and you sit down and then you get on the road and you're driving. And 2 minutes into your trip, you go, oh no. And you start having an anxiety attack and you got to pull off to a freaking gas station. And then you're in the bathroom there for about 10 minutes or so. You get back in your car and you're like, all right, I'm ready to do this. And you're driving. 5 minutes passes, all of a sudden it's like, oh no, not again. You're pulling over to a freaking Walgreens. 5 minutes after you get back in your car, it happens again and again, and it sucks. I cannot tell you how many times I've been in my vehicle and have had an anxiety attack, which triggers an immediate IBS attack. And it's just the worst feeling in the world, because you know what? I love driving. I've been driving since I was 18 years old. I'm 39, and I used to love driving. I got a convertible. I love driving with the top down and everything. But when you start having anxiety attacks on the road and IBS attacks, it just doesn't make driving fun anymore. It makes it to become the most uncomfortable experience you've ever dealt with in your life. It's annoying. You have to leave the house early and make extra time for yourself when you know you're dealing with this way, that if you have to stop several times, like say on the way to work or on the way to wherever you're going, you allow yourself some extra time so that you can deal with your issues and your shit. Literally. Another thing too that is fantastic, aside from giving yourself more time to hit the road, carry a roll of toilet paper around. I carry a backpack everywhere I go, everywhere. Whether I'm walking, whether I'm driving, whether I'm taking the train, I have a roll of toilet paper in my backpack, because at any given time, if I have these, this combo of attacks, you're not going to have to worry, because think about that too. You have to worry about, like, okay, if I pull over, is this place that I'm stopping at going to have a washroom? Are they going to have toilet paper? Is the washroom going to be available for me to use? And it's just like, you got to think quick. You got to be quick, or else you're going to have an accident. And it's no fun whatsoever. No fun. And that's what people who deal with both anxiety and IBS have to deal with. And especially when you have driving anxieties, it makes the experience of it all a billion times worse. So how do you deal with it? What do you do? I mean, again, it's all about preparation. I mean, do your research. I mean, aside from me just sitting here telling you about it, there's a lot of information out there on the web that I did my research on. It's out there. But sometimes when you have a person explaining all of this to you, it makes it a little bit easier to cope with, and it also gives you the sense of, oh, thank Christ, I'm not the only one who deals with this mess of issues. So anyways, you're having anxiety, you're having your IBS attacks, you're pulling over and going to the washroom. So what happens if you're at a stoplight or something and you get an attack? This has happened to me as well. I remember I made it all the way into the city, an hour and a half drive to work. I'm 4 minutes away from work, right? I'm at a stoplight. All of a sudden, it's like, oh no, I'm having an attack. And there's nowhere to turn off. There's nowhere to go. What do I do? So the one thing that I had learned, especially be it that in the winter time, roll down your window a little bit. Cool air actually helps. If you're in a car and you got the heat blasting in there, extreme amounts of heat make for it actually worsens your anxiety and can actually bring an anxiety attack on. So I started wearing less layers when I was in the car. So, I wear, it's my normal clothes, and then I wear a hoodie over that, and I have my jacket on the passenger seat just so that I'm wearing less. I roll up my sleeves, I crack the window, get some cool air going in the car. That's one thing that can really, really help. Number two, if you start having an attack, whether you're driving or whether you're stuck at a light, I found that doing just basic anxiety breathing exercises can help. So you're sitting there, you're having an attack. all of a sudden it's like, oh no, what do I do? So I'm at that stoplight and I'm like, okay, just start breathing, breathe, breathe, breathe. That's what I kept telling myself. So the best thing to do for any kind of anxiety breathing, whenever, if ever you have just a regular anxiety attack, what you want to do is breathe through your nose for 5 seconds, hold it for 2, and then through pursed lips, breathe out for 8 seconds. You keep doing that over and over and over until you slow your heart rate down. And not saying that it works every single time, but it has helped me get out of sticky ass situations. Especially, like I said, if I'm at a stoplight, I have an attack, I'm doing my breathing, and it helped me to get the extra 5 minutes to my job so that I can go to the washroom and relieve myself. So that is another thing too. What I also found out too, now if you're into doing pills and medication and stuff, and it was my little brother who told me about it. I was at a Christmas party and I was explaining my anxiety and depression to my family, and it turns out my little brother has been dealing with the exact same thing on a very large level. And he told me, he's like, Tony, you need to talk to your doctor about a pill called dicyclomine. And what dicyclomine does is it helps with stomach spasms when you have an anxiety attack. And it also slows down the flow of your bowel movements as well. And then if you're on dicyclomine for an extended period of time, it actually helps to regulate your bowel movements. And I was like, this sounds like something I need to get on. So I went to my doctor, I talked to him about it. He said, absolutely, we're going to get you on dicyclomine right away. And so I started taking the dicyclomine. And what you want to do is you want to take 2 pills about a half hour before you get on the road, because that's about the time it takes for it to really kick in. So I take 2 pills a half hour before I get on the road, and it helps me get to and from where I need to. And then usually midday I take just 1 pill, and then before I leave work, again 2 pills about a half hour before I leave work. And after doing that for a while and it builds up in your system, man, what a relief dicyclomine is. So if you're not on dicyclomine right now and you're dealing with this mess, go talk to your doctor. They usually come in a bottle of like 90 pills, so it can last you a while, a good solid month's worth of pills. And it really does help. So that's definitely something to look into. But yeah, so if you have anxiety and you have IBS, I am here to tell you that you're not alone. I deal with it too, and yes, it is embarrassing as hell to talk with or talk about. But when I know clearly in my head, there's hundreds of people out there that deal with the exact same shit, literally, that I do, and that's the reason why I'm making this video. And you may be watching it in private, going like, "Oh Jesus, thank you, oh God, I'm not alone," and this guy knows what he's talking about. And it makes it for so that. Just like anything else, when you deal with anxiety and attacks, which I'll talk about in other videos, you learn how your body works. You learn the mechanics of anxiety and an anxiety attack, and why, when, and how your body does things and how things function. And then you're able to deal with it and cope with it a little bit more. So I mean that's the advice. Now you may be saying, well, so since you've been on this regimen of advice, how's your driving situation been? Well, I haven't been driving a whole lot, to be honest with you. Recommendations by my doctor. She was like, why don't you take the train to work? And I'm like, duh. So I actually started taking the train, doing a lot more walking, which is great exercise for your body. Walking is always great. And I started taking the train, an alternative to driving. So if you take public transportation too, sometimes that might help. Now, you may be saying, like, Tony, well, what happens if you have an anxiety attack? You're on a bus, you're on a train, you can't use the washroom. Again, it goes into doing your research. I take the Metro train into the city of Chicago, and the Metro train actually has washrooms on the train and at the train station. So during my travels, I'm never without a washroom, and I always make sure to take the train car that has a washroom just to be safe. But let me explain what doing the alternative transportation does. It actually helps to ease your anxiety attacks if you're having road anxiety. It's cut my anxiety in half. Just the fact of taking a form of transportation where I don't need to focus on traffic or on the road. I don't have to drive through massive amounts of shitty weather, through rain, storms, and through snowstorms. I don't have to deal with that at all. And just by that factor alone, it's cut my anxiety in half. And taking the train to and from work every day has been such a huge relief, to the point of where I find myself taking less medications over a period of time. I started cutting back on even my dicyclamine and my anxiety meds, and now it's like I'm taking half the dosage that I was taking before when I was having it severely, having attacks on the road. So it may be an alternative option for you to take public transportation. And now when I take the train, I can just put my head against the window and sleep. So anyways, once again, that's really all I've got for you. Now, once again, I'm not a doctor. I'm not a psychologist. Everybody is different in their situations. But if this is something that you can relate to, definitely, again, look into public transportation. Go talk to your doctor about dicyclamine. And best of luck to you. Practice your breathing exercises. Get your stuff under control. Anxiety is your brain fucking with your body. And once, again, you learn about your enemy, it's easier to defend against attacks. And, best of luck to you. And I guess if you have any questions, comments, concerns, or prophecies, you can hit me up in the comment box below. And, when I get some time, I'll respond to your messages and talk to you a little bit more about it. And that's all I got for you. But until we meet again, this is Anthony Sevins signing off. Take care of yourself, take care of each other, and best of luck to you.